Amigos, Spanish. Mi nombre es Mark Schernagel. That's all I got. Uh, so I'm Mark Schernagel. I'm an evangelist for Unity. I'm based out of Los Angeles, cover most of North and South America. Super happy to be here today. What I'm going to show you guys today is the first time I'm going to present this. This is going to be about a 20, 30-minute presentation on the new Timeline tool and the new Cinema Machine tool. Cinema Machine isn't quite so new, but what is new is that it's now included with Unity for free. So it's out there for everybody now, and now the guys who work on Cinema Machine are working for Unity to really integrate that technology. So got just a couple slides for you. So what is Timeline? Timeline is a brand new feature. It's going to be out in Unity 2017.1. You can get a beta of it today already. And it's just a new visual tool in Unity that allows the creation of cinematic cutscenes. It's really powerful. I'm super excited to show it to you. It's right up my alley. I'm not quite a strong programmer. My background is 3D animation. I worked for Softimage for 20 years, if anyone knows Softimage. And now I'm at Unity. I've been here for about a little over 3 years. Cinema Machine is a camera tool. And basically what it allows you to do is do blends, do follows, really easily allows you to create different camera rigs. The one thing I always had trouble with when I was doing 3D animation was my cameras. Just could never get the interest in the camera to work the way I wanted to. Cinema Machine is muy bueno. It's really, really, really cool. Is that even the right word to say? Okay, good. It's shit. No, that's wrong. No. Is that recording? Don't record that. So if you want to get this stuff today, you can get it. It's out there. You can either download the experimental build 5.6 beta 6. So just Google or Bing if you like to Bing. Ask Jeeves. So yeah, just Google Unity Timeline Experimental. It's now actually in the 2017.1 beta, so you can get both. I'm going to show you 5.6 today just because that's what my project was built in, but they're fairly compatible, so you should be fine either way. And Cinema Machine, like I mentioned, you just download from the asset store. So that is all I'm going to show you with PowerPoint because I hate PowerPoint. And for the first time ever, I'm going to demo with glasses on because this screen is really small. So anyway, these are my brother's old glasses from long ago. I've had too much coffee, I can tell. Okay, so all serious. So let's talk about, first we're going to talk about Cinema Machine. I want to show you how you can really easily make a camera move. So first what I'm going to do is just hit play. So we've got our little mouse character here. This stuff was graciously given to us by our friends from Ghost of a Tale. It's a really cool game that's out. Involves this little mouse character. And you can see I've got him cruising around here. I'm just using WASD. If I hold down Shift, I can get him to run. And we got our little mouse. Now notice he just runs off the screen, and that's it. So I have no camera information, nothing going on here with the camera. So I'm going to hit stop. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to go to Cinema Machine. Once you download the Cinema Machine tool from the asset store, it appears here in your toolbar. So I'm just going to say create a free look camera. And right away, we come up with this little box down here. Gives you a little bit of instruction. I'm not going to go too much into that, so I'm going to show you what it all does. And you can see that right now we're looking at the mouse's feet, which is not the best thing to look at. So let's do this. So I'm going to go just get my mouse lined up, maybe something like so. Going to select my free look camera, and then I'm going to do a game object align with view. And that's basically going to match the two views up. And right away, you'll notice something's a little bit different here. We've got these little blue bars. There's a blue tint over this. Well, right now, the tool doesn't do much of anything, but we can see over here, and I know it's a little bit small to read, particularly a few people in the back, but this is a very powerful camera rig. This is going to give us a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to show you as much as I can today in the short time, but essentially, it basically gives us a top, middle, and bottom rig that we can easily blend between, pan around our character, follow our character. Really, really simple. So watch this. We have two little inputs right here, look at and follow. So what I want to look at is my mouse. I'm going to expand my hierarchy here. I've got my mouse prefab, and I'm just going to drag this into my look at. And right away, we can now see I'm looking at his feet. So the mouse prefab, the center of geometry, the COG, center, whatever you want to call it, is at the feet. So right now, it's going to look at that transform, that position at the bottom. So if I press play, wherever I run now, we're going to follow that mouse. Super duper simple. Right away, we've got already a camera rig, okay? Cool. However, it's not looking at what I'm sorry, it's not following the character. I can still, you see it's gone here. The rig is gone. So let's stop that again. And just to show you one more time, we see the rig, I can go forward, and it just runs off the screen, okay? So let's do this now. I'm going to do a follow, and I'm going to grab the mouse prefab again and drag it right on there again. So now we're going to follow the mouse and look at the mouse. Watch the difference. Press play, and now wherever I go, my mouse follows. I can go up, get a top view. I can go down, but we're always looking at his feet right now. So this is super powerful. You know, I can go all around, and if you look over here, we can see this rig, and let's get a better look at that. So this is our free look rig. This is the Cinema Machine rig, and you can see there's a top component, a middle component, and this bottom component. As I move my camera up and down, my mouse up and down, you can see the camera orbits around and follows the mouse. So this is the free look camera. Allows us to look at this guy any way we want. Right now, though, we're looking at his feet. No matter where we're at, we're always looking at the character's feet. So what we can do is, if you pan down a little bit, we can separate it so that the top rig, the middle rig, and the bottom rig each follow a different part of your character, of your object. So let's go here to our look at for the top rig. And for the top rig, I want to look at the character's chest. Sorry, his pelvis. No, chest, right, chest. Chest up top, and I didn't pick it. Let's do that one more time. Chest, there we go, click on chest. For the middle rig, I want to look at the pelvis, like so. And I didn't spell that right, pelvis, there we go. And for the bottom rig, I want to look at its head. So I'm going to do this a little bit different. When the camera's at the bottom, I want to look up at its head. And when the camera's up top, I want to look down basically at his waist. So let's select head, H-A-D, boop, like so. That's not what I clicked on. My mouse rolls when I let go of it because the thing is sloped. There we go. Okay, cool. So now, notice this little yellow button right there. I'm going to zoom in. See that little yellow dot? That tells us what we're looking at. Now, right now, I only see one dot, which leads me to believe I need to do one more thing, which is the look at up here is going to override these. So you need to make sure that if you set anything down here, that you erase it from up here. So I'm going to bring this back to none. And now you can see we have two dots. So we're always going to be looking at between the blend of the top one and the middle one, or the bottom one and the middle one, whichever. And you can kind of see now when I hit play, I can move up and down, and we will see those two dots. Actually, let me get rid of the zoom. We will see those two dots that are showing me exactly what I am looking at. And you know what? I did do that backwards. I knew I did that backwards. Gosh darn it. Hang on. This is top is pelvis. Pelvis. And my middle one is the chest. Let's do that again. Chest. Like so. Okay, that makes more sense. Because I can see they're kind of hopping. So now you can see that when I'm looking at up, we see the top and the middle part, and then we go down, and now we're looking at the middle and the upper part. So now if I move around, I can look really close. This game was a top-down game. I can get down real low and look at his butt. I can swing around, look at him all cute like that. Very, very cool. So we're actually really easily able to control what we're looking at, how we're looking at. And then we also are able to adjust all of these parameters here, change the size, change the scale. So in the actual game, it was a top-down game. So I want to take this top portion, move it up, open the field of view, and just get it to match the way it was a little bit more in the game. So what we'll do, we'll open up our aim, and we will open up our body right here. So these allow you to adjust these parameters in here. So what I'm going to do is take my radius, shrink it down, so we have a smaller window to orbit around, and then I'm going to take my height and just move it up a bit. And then also, let's take our field of view and crank that up to something like 90 or 85. So when we're in the top view, we're really looking, right at the top. So if I press play, and actually let's do this in full screen mode. Let's go play. And now you can see I've got a nice top-down view. I pull my mouse down a little bit. I've got this middle view, and then I can go down and go right back to that view over there, and then look at his butt. All right, cool. So going to do a couple more little tweaks just to show you some stuff. When you're setting up, let's say I want to set up this bottom area. It's hard to position your mouse. It's not really hard, but when you're in play mode, it's very easy to move your camera up and down. But wherever you hit stop is where it gets locked at. So what I'll do is with this area up here, you can control the x-axis and the y-axis of where your camera actually is. So if I scrub this here, you can see I can rotate around. And if I grab the y value, I can, that one's really sensitive, I can zoom in and out. So I want to lock this at the bottom so that I'm actually working with the bottom. Come down here, open up the aim, open up the body, and let's go ahead and adjust, just like we did before. I'm going to adjust the bottom a little bit. So I'm going to take the radius and open it up just a bit, and then move this down just a hair like so. So we're going to look just a little bit further underneath them. And then the other thing I want to do is just change the speed of my camera. Right now when I press play, it's very sensitive. I can, it's just super sensitive to get that camera to move around. It's a bit too much. You can see I'm only moving my mouse a little bit. So what I can do here is just turn down the velocity, maybe make this something like 700 in x, and the values are a bit wonky. 700 in x is good, and then for y, let's just do something like 1. And so now there's a lot less sensitivity. I have to move my mouse quite a bit further to get that same amount of movement. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one more time, press play. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to turn off these little look dots right here. So if I open up my aim, let's just turn off the show guide for that, turn off show guide here, and turn off show guide there. So now press play. And cool. So I get the bottom view. If we go into run, we could see his little butt cruising around like so. I could maybe move that up a little bit. But you can see it's really easy to pan this camera around, really get a really, that would take a long time to set up. No script, no code, nothing. Just select a few different objects, and there you go. So that's cool. So that's going to be my initial rig for what I want to do for this presentation. So let's stop talking about Cinema Machine for just a second, and now let's talk a little bit about Timeline and how we can integrate the two technologies. So I've made a custom UI. We're going to call this one Timeline. And this just basically has our new timeline embedded in the bottom of my, my interface. Let's maybe make this a little bit bigger. And what I'm going to do here is create a new timeline. So for that, we're going to go into Assets, Create, Timeline. And I'm just going to create a timeline. I can create some timeline C# script, but I'm just going to do a general timeline. And you can see that as an asset right here to the bottom of our asset window. I'll rename this to maybe cutscene. All right, there we go. And now, if I drag and drop this into my scene, I now can have a timeline. So notice when I unselect it, I lose my playback controls. If I select it here, I gain my playback controls. So that just kind of lets you know you have it selected. Let's go ahead and click Add. And I'm going to add an animation track. Now, we have several different types of tracks that we can add. An activation track just turns an object on or off. I want to make this game object appear. I want to make it disappear. Super easy. Animation, way more complex. Audio tracks, control tracks, playable tracks. We're not going to look at all of these, but let's do an animation track. So once we do that, it's going to ask me for my binding. What object in my scene, what hierarchy, what prefab do I want this timeline to control? In this case, it's going to be the mouse. So I'm going to click on the little target, and I'm going to click on mouse. And now I've got a piece of animation here called greeting. Where is it at? I typed green. Greeting, there it is. And let's just drag and drop that in. This is a normal piece of Unity animation. This would work just fine in Mechanim. And if I double click on this, you can see this is all keyframe data. It's not baked. A nice big chunk of data there. And if I go ahead and press play, let's go ahead and frame our little mouse dude really quick. Boop, there's our mouse. What's up, mouse? Press play. And as soon as it hits play, hey, we're going to wave. So we're now playing that track. Notice my timeline disappeared. So watch this. If you grab your timeline object, sorry, it's this cutscene here, I can lock that. It's the tiniest little icon, especially if you're in the back, but if you lock that, it's going to make it so when you unselect your object, it doesn't unselect your timeline, so we can still see that. So I press play, and we see our greeting. Now watch what happens when it finishes the greeting. It goes right back into the animation that was on the state machine. So just to show you what's going on here, we have in our animator, let's hit play here. Let's select our mouse. And, oh, come on, mouse, bring up my, oh, sorry, I got to actually select the mouse character itself. And we can see we have a Mechanim state machine right there. So Mechanim is going to play, and they're both going to play at the same time. One neat thing about Timeline you can do is you can grab any clip and just make loops. So there we go. So I just made some loops, press play again. And now you can see we're this far through this state, and Timeline is still overriding it. So Timeline, by default, will override your state machine. As soon as the timeline sequence is done, it goes right back to Mechanim. And we can blend between those two. If you'll notice, it was actually a very harsh transition. Let's get this back to 1. When I go from my first clip, the wave, how's it going? Hola. And then, boom, a really quick, hard snap. So I'm going to show you how we can fix all that. But rather than just do it on this simple timeline, let's do something a little bit more powerful. So I'm going to go and delete this cutscene from my hierarchy. But notice what the cutscene actually was. All your timeline is the way you get them to play back in your hierarchy view. It's just a simple transform with a playable director component. So this is a new component for timeline, the playable director. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that from my scene. And I've already set up here on this object called interactive chest, I've got a playable director on there as well. So what I'm going to do is take that same cutscene that I just created, there's the asset version of it, and I'm going to populate that same field. Now if I click on my object, there's the timeline I set up, the greeting. Notice it's no longer bound to the mouse, so I have to reset that binding up. So click on our target, click on the mouse, and now if I press play, it will do nothing. It's no longer going to play that on awake, and the reason is because play on awake is unchecked. So if play on awake was checked, we would get the wave, but it's not. Now we've also set a couple other things up, so let me just show you what's going on in this scene. I'm going to unhide a couple other objects, my interactive chest. Let's turn this on, and let's turn on our actual chest. So what we're going to try to author here is this. We've got our little mouse, and our mouse is standing in front of a chest. I want to make it so that when my mouse enters this yellow region is a collider. When it does that, I want the mouse to then jump into the box. And it's only going to do that when I press a key on my keyboard that I've bound to a script. So I want to show you the scripts that are actually on these objects really quick. So on our trigger area, we've got a script called Timeline Trigger Area. And then on our interactive chest, we have a Timeline Playback Manager script. And notice the Timeline Playback Manager has a lot of UI to it. So these are different inputs that we can add, different things. Let me show you what these scripts look like. So the first one is the one that is on the actual trigger. So the script on the trigger is this guy right here. And all it basically says is, hey, if someone enters the trigger area, set the timeline playback thing to either on or off. If we go to the other script, it's going to say, all right, if the player is in the zone, if they're in the collider, and the timeline is not playing, then either play it when somebody pushes one of these buttons, either the joystick button 3, the E key, the space bar, or the Y key. And then we've also got a little bit of UI, a little UI element that's going to turn on that's going to tell us, hey, press the Y key when our character enters the scene. Okay, so that's how this is all going to work. So if I now press play, and I am in that space, you can see the little UI came up, press Y, I press Y, and there it goes. It just now played my little greeting timeline. So super simple. So all it's doing, if we're in the collider and you press the Y key, go ahead and execute the timeline. It's pretty straightforward as far as the scripting goes, so you don't have to really do a lot of scripting. But now let's build a little more exciting timeline on here. So I'm going to select my cutscene, and let's go ahead and mute this first track. Don't want to do that. And I'm going to add actually let me grab it from here, my timeline objects. There we go. This one here. There we go. So I'm going to add a new animation track. Again, I'm going to bind it to the mouse. And this time what I'm going to do is add another game object or another piece of animation called Open Chest. So I'll grab this, drop it on here, and zoom out a bit. Notice this one is all baked animation. Crazy. Keyframe at every single frame on every joint and every bone that's on our character. I can scrub through that, so you can finally scrub through animation. Woo! That's cool. And I'm going to grab another clip. Just for a second, I want to turn the chest off, too. So let me just grab the chest, and I'm going to turn the chest off. And let's go now back to our timeline. Going to lock it again so it doesn't disappear. And I'm going to grab another clip called our basin. So I have one here called Hide in Basin. So I'm going to drop that in. And we have two clips now. So I'm going to show you how we can blend between these two clips. So the first one, let's just get in tight on this guy. You can see our first clip, our mouse is opening the chest, and then he starts to jump in. The second clip, though, he's already at the bottom again. So he's outside the box, and then he jumps in. So that's not going to blend very well together. This would look really pretty weak if I had my character do that, right? So let's do this. Let's grab this first open chest, and I'm going to find out right where he gets his hand up to the highest point, right there. He brings it down, and now that pretty much matches where he is here. So let's go and get to that point again, and let's just grab this handle and trim that off. Just like you're working with Premiere or any non-linear editing system, we're just trimming that little bit of animation off. Now I'm going to butt these two together, and now if I scrub, look how much better that is. I mean, there's a pop there, but who cares? It's just a pop. No one cares about that, right? No. All we have to do now is just overlap those two, and now look, we get this perfect, beautiful, blended animation, right? Pretty freaking awesome. That is a boatload to do with scripting, as you all probably know. I don't, but I'm an animator. Anyway, this is how it just should work. This is how I want it to work. So really, really cool. Now I've got a couple other clips. We've got this one here called Idle, Hidden in Basin. So let's drop this guy in. Let's butt these two together. I said butt. And then if we go like so, you can see there's just a little bit of a pop there. No problem. Just overlap those two a little bit. And now we've got a beautiful blend as he's just chilling out, hanging in the chest. And then we've got one more animation. Just use my scroll wheel to zoom out, exit the basin, pop that over. And this one here has a really easy, simple transition for timeline to handle too. So we'll put those together like so. So now, check this out. Press play. Actually, let's do this full screen. Maximize on game, like so. I still got my Cinema Machine camera on there, so we'll just position it like that. I press Y, and he pops in his thing like so. Cool beans, all good. Now, one actually thing to point out, though, is the state machine is still running. My script that is controlling the location of my character is still running. So watch what happens when my timeline is playing. I can still move around. So he's sliding around, whee! So that's no good. So we have to fix that. So we've done a couple things to do that. And another thing that we've done is, let me just unhide the chest. It's important where the chest lines up in relation to where my character is. So if I have my character facing this way, well, that's not very good, right? Now he's not doing what I told him to do at all. That's only because it's doing what I told it to do. We just had some rotation on there. So a super easy thing to do is, on your object, I have a player location, which is just a transform, just a game object that's locking in place where my character is going to be. And on that script that had a bit of UI, I don't need to show you all this, but there's two little inputs on here. One is disable player input. By checking that, I disable my ability to slide around the scene now. We're just going to turn off input while we're in that state, or in that timeline. The next thing we're going to do is set the player position to that game object called player location. So player location, player location. So now if I do the same thing, we go over. I can be facing over this way, doesn't matter. Looking that way, I press Y. He's automatically going to snap to the right place, look at the right direction. We could have done a nice blend if we wanted to, but, well, now he's in a box and he somehow is magical and go through the wood, so that doesn't make sense either. So let's fix that, right? So we need to get our lid to open up. Now, this is something I don't have any animation for this. I don't want to go to Maya or Max or whatever you're using to author some animation. I can do this really easily right here inside a timeline. So I'm going to add another animation track. And I'm going to bind this one to the box, to the wood box, which is called the lid group, like so. So you can see I can actually have multiple objects animated on the same timeline, which is really powerful. So what I'll do now is just simply grab the top of my chest here, and I'm going to click this record button. Now we're recording keyframes. So I'm just going to position my cursor, my timeline, right where his hand is all the way up. Going to go here to my rotation, and I'm just going to rotate it backwards up to like so. I'm going to move back in time a little bit to right there, and I'm going to move it forward. Actually, I'll just set this position to 0. And now if I scrub, we should see, whoop, just that easily. Check that out. Super simple. Now he goes in, and now I need him to go out. So I want the box to close. I could do the exact same thing, but I want to show you a different way of doing this. So I'm going to turn off my record. I'm going to right-click on here and just edit this in my usual animator window. Click on Edit in Animation window. The animator window pops up. I'm just going to glue this to our UI down here. And notice now I can use my good old standard animator window that I'm used to, or I can use Timeline, and the two are bound one-to-one together. So if I zoom out here, if I grab my time handle, you can see that as I move this, they're both moving in the same time. I need to zoom out a bit more to get that to match up. And now I'm just going to go all the way to the end of my sequence, still zoom out a little bit more, to where it jumps out like so. And now what I can do is just a simple copy-paste. If I leave my cursor right there, I can click on this, just do Control-C, Control-V, copy that, go back a little bit, select this one, Control-C, Control-V, and now I've got, I did that backwards. But you know what? I didn't do that. I did that on purpose. I'm just lying. I'll just reverse them, because that's how I can do that. Look at that, super easy. I'll just reverse my mistake, no problem at all, a super easy way to correct that problem. Really, really powerful. Another thing I've done kind of on purpose is I wanted to give him a good head wound. So you can see when he jumps in, his head is really just in the chest. Oh, his ears, ow, that would hurt. So we want to fix that. I want to make my lid open a little bit more. So we can always just open up the F-curve editor. I can just easily click on, well, we can do this two ways. One, I could use my curves like we usually have down here, or let's just get rid of this tab. I can also click on my little icon right there, my little widget, grab these two curves, pull them down, and just get that to open up a little bit more so that his head isn't in the box, like so. So you can really easily author your animations a number of different ways. You can use the record button, you can use your regular old dope sheet, you can use the F-curve editor, all this good stuff to get the absolute perfect result that you want, something like that. Cool. All right, next thing I want to show you is audio. So I'm going to add another track. Let's add an audio track, and I'm going to bind this to nothing. I could bind that to an audio mixer if I wanted to. I'm not going to use the mixer. We don't need to do that for this particular demo. So let's just go here, and I've got a thing here called chest open. Open chest, where is it at? Oh, no, it's not there. Where is it at? Chest. There it is, chest, enter. So we'll grab chest, enter, and I will grab chest, exit. Now, one bummer right now is Timeline doesn't let you scrub audio yet. It's being worked on, but right now it doesn't actually let you do that. So I can see my timelines, my audio here, of course. I can press play. Oh, and it's not hooked up. Okay, I'm just going to have to make sound effects. Which somewhat spoils this because this chest opening is taking way too long. It's like twice as long as it needs to be. So rather than have it play both this, which goes ka-chunk, ka-chunk, I'm just going to trim it to get rid of the second ka-chunk, all right? So that fixed that one. Trust me, it's beautiful. It's perfect. Ka-chunk. Awesome. Now this one here, a little bit different. So this one, I could do the same thing. This is the exit, but just to show you another workflow, if I select this clip, I can just change my speed multiplier right there and make it play twice as fast. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, like so. All right? So let's test this out. I'm here. Let's get a good camera view like so. I'm going to press the Y key. Ka-chunk. And look, I can still move my camera around. Get out. Come on, hurry up. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk. I'm not going to do that anymore. All right, so the last thing I want to show you is how we can blend some different cameras. So it is pretty cool that I can still move my camera around. You know, we get to our thing that's up here, but I want to get a really cool dramatic shot of the mouse entering every single time, and I want the player to lose control of the camera for that moment. So what I'll do here is create another camera. And this time I'm going to go back to Cinema Machine, and I'm going to create a virtual camera. So the first thing I did was a free look camera. I can move it all around. I got those different rigs and everything. That's what different rigs are. A virtual camera is a little bit more locked down. It doesn't have the top, middle, bottom section. I can still do a look at. I can still change the field of view, all sorts of stuff. So let's set up our cool little dramatic shot. Let's get the mouse just like that, looking in there. So now I'm going to select my virtual camera. I'll do a game object, align with view. So that's going to position that camera right there. And now I'm just going to basically add that to my sequence. Now, before I do that, I need to set the priority up. Cinema Machine cameras use a priority system to determine which one is active. You can either change that through a script, or you can change it through Timeline. If I change it with a script, you know, like don't want to do that. Let's just change it with with just setting it right here. So I'm going to change the value from 10 to 9. They go from low to high. So now you can see we're back to our free look camera. So how am I going to get it to swap in my virtual camera when I want it to? Well, for that, we're going to use a timeline. So I'm going to create a Cinema Machine timeline. So this is another track. So we've had animation, audio, not really audio. That's bad sound effects, but you know what I'm saying. This needs to be bound to our main camera. So I'm going to bind it to our camera. And now I'm just going to right-click and say, you know what? I want a Cinema Machine shot clip. So add that. I'm going to position it right here in the middle. And now all I have to do is drag my virtual camera, the camera I just created, right here. And so now, as I scrub my timeline, boop, you can see it's automatically going to leave my free look camera, go to my cool little, you know, up-close camera, and then back to my other free look camera. Now, one thing that's a little bit boring here is, you know, this mouse is in there, he's kind of moving around, but this shot is locked. So let's go ahead and play that, and I want to show you how we can make that even better, too. So we're looking close. Actually, let's get straight up so we can see this happen. He opens a chest. And then, boop, we get in real close. But it's static. It's not moving. I want a little bit of life to that camera. So I could hand animate that. I could do some stuff. But let's just have it follow something on our character. So we're going to do a look at. And what we'll look at is the right eye bone. Seems like a good thing to look at. Let's look at his right eye bone. And trust me, it's going to be so much, where's Ashley? Cuter. Ashley's not here. Ashley loves animals, and this is just cute. So watch this. Watch how cute he looks. See, he's all cute. Now look, there's a little bit of movement to the camera, just a little bit to give it that extra little bit of life, right? Because it's now locked on its eye. Pretty cool. You know what? I want it to last the whole length of the shot, though. So let's do this. Let's grab this, pull it over here. Let's grab this, pull it over here. Press play again. This will be slightly more, you know, now it's going to pop in immediately. But it pops in really harshly. Like, I don't want that hard cut. I want a nice zoom from my camera down into that free look camera. So watch how easy it is to do that. And you can see it exited really harshly as well. So I'm going to create another camera clip. And this time I'm going to populate it with our free look camera. So let's take our free look camera, drop it in here. Same exact parameters. So now what it's going to do is it's going to nicely blend from our free look camera to our virtual camera. And now I can take this, do a Control-C, Control-V, bring that back over here, maybe extend that out a little bit longer so it takes a little longer to zoom in and out. Press play. I'm going to move up here. Look, no, gosh darn it, it slides. I'll press Y, and whoop, we just slide in, zoom right in there. We're locked on his eyes, tracking around. I'm not doing anything with my mouse. That's a mouse, too. I don't know which mouse I'm talking about. And then he gets out, and we're back. Now, the one last little thing that pops is the animation. We're blending from the Cinema Machine animation track, this right here, to our Mechanim State Machine animation, okay? So we have our default idling animation, and then we have the other one that's being driven by our timeline. So watch how easy it is to control the blend between your Mechanim and your other one. I'm gonna click on my incoming clip, my open chest animation. I'm gonna change my ease in duration to 0.2. I'm gonna go to my exit clip, and I'm gonna change my ease out duration to 0.2. And that's going to control the blending from Mechanim into timeline and from timeline back into Mechanim. Stupidly powerful. Go like so. We're going to go here. We blend into that animation. We blend into that camera clip. We go in there. Look how cute it is, Ashley. Is that not cute or what? His little eyeball. He's so cute. She's back there. And that's it. So that's some of the really, really cool stuff you can do in timeline. I kind of rushed that a little bit because I know we're a little bit behind schedule. Cinema Machine can do some ridiculously amazing stuff. I don't have time to show it to you today, but what I encourage you all to do is check out the Unite Soul 2017 timeline demo. This is Adam. He's the guy that created the Cinema Machine, or the chief engineer on it. He shows it actually integrating with the Adam Unity demo, so it's Adam showing Adam just these insanely complex camera moves that are just simple with timeline. So check it out. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to take a picture of y'all, if you don't mind, so I can put it on my Twitter account and make everyone happy. So hold on one sec. Give me a good something or another. Awesome. Muchas gracias.